Be me. I am Elias Vance, Head of Data Integrity and Infrastructure for NetLink Communications. My domain is the backbone of the entire operation. The massive data centers, the terabytes of customer information, the intricate web of RAID arrays, and the absolutely critical backup infrastructure. My job is to ensure every single bit of data is secure, redundant, and always recoverable. I've been with NetLink for 15 years, built most of its current data architecture from the ground up, and I know every single hidden trapdoor and fail-safe. Be not me. Chadwick Sterling, freshly minted Chief Digital Officer, straight out of some prestigious but utterly useless MBA program. He prefers to be called Chad. Chad arrived 6 months ago like a digital plague, oozing corporate jargon and an unearned sense of superiority. He believed legacy systems were anything implemented before his birth year, and inefficiency was simply a synonym for protocol I don't understand. The first red flag fluttered during his initial walkthrough. We were touring the primary data center, a cool, humming testament to millions of dollars and decades of careful planning. Chad pointed at a bank of our crucial disaster recovery RAID 6 arrays, blinking with their green status lights. He asked, "Why do we have so much redundant storage here? Is this really necessary? It looks like we're just throwing money away on outdated architecture." I explained calmly that these arrays were our last line of defense. They held full, immutable copies of our entire network routing table configurations, customer data profiles, and billing systems. Losing them would mean a nationwide blackout for our mobile and internet services. He just nodded, a patronizing smirk playing on his lips, as if I were a dim-witted child explaining basic arithmetic. "Understood," he said, "but isn't there a more agile solution?" The word agile from him always felt like a threat. A month later, the first direct clash. Chad decided that our quarterly system audit, a mandatory exercise required by federal telecommunications regulations, was a drain on resources. He wanted to skip it. He emailed the entire executive team, citing optimizing operational overhead and streamlining internal processes. I immediately replied, copying legal and compliance, detailing the specific regulatory fines and potential license revocation. My email included the exact clauses from the Federal Communications Commission guidelines. Chad responded directly to me, not the group, with a single sentence. "Vance, don't be such a stickler for archaic rules. We're innovating here." I saved that email. Then came his fixation on data minimalism. He declared that our 15-year data retention policy for non-critical user interaction logs was excessive. He called it digital hoarding. He wanted to purge everything older than 2 years across all databases, regardless of its classification. This included crucial historical network performance data, essential for identifying long-term trend anomalies and potential security breaches. I brought up our internal data governance policy, which clearly stated different retention periods for different data types. I referenced the specific internal compliance documents, even highlighting the relevant paragraphs. Chad waved his hand dismissively. "Those are suggestions, Elias, not commandments. We need to be lean. Start drafting a plan to implement a 2-year rolling purge. Get it done." I pushed back gently. "Chad, the current policy ensures we have enough historical data to troubleshoot widespread network issues. Without it, diagnosing something like a major routing table corruption could take weeks instead of hours, not to mention the legal implications for certain customer interaction data." He just leaned back in his expensive chair, a self-satisfied glint in his eyes. "That's why we have smart people like you, Elias, to figure it out. Just make it happen. I want to see a proposal for implementation by end of week." I left his office, my mind already cataloging the interaction, the date, the time. The real breaking point occurred last month. Chad unilaterally decided our primary production database, Olympus Prime, was becoming too bloated. This database held the real-time configuration for our entire cellular and fiber optic network infrastructure. Every routing decision, every subscriber authentication, every packet movement flowed through it. He believed that the redundant data in Olympus Prime, which was actually highly granular historical routing data used for instant rollback in case of an error, was just taking up expensive flash storage. He didn't come to me. He emailed a junior database administrator, a nervous kid named Kevin, late on a Friday evening. The email, copied only to Chad's personal assistant and not to anyone in my department, instructed Kevin to immediately initiate a deep clean and purge of all non-essential historical routing configuration data from Olympus Prime. The reason stated was urgent performance optimization due to projected holiday traffic surge. Kevin, terrified of C-suite demands, executed the script. This script, crafted by Chad's visionary team, deleted an entire category of historical network configuration snapshots. It bypassed the system's normal integrity checks because it was a direct C-suite mandate. The script also had a critical flaw. It didn't just delete historical data. It inadvertently corrupted the checksums for the current live configuration, creating latent inconsistencies. The final stage of Chad's grand plan was to rebuild the routing table integrity from scratch, using a more efficient pared-down schema he designed. This was set to run during a maintenance window. I only found out what happened on Monday morning. Kevin, pale and shaking, sheepishly admitted what he'd done, showing me Chad's email. My blood ran cold. The integrity of our live routing tables was compromised. I immediately tried to initiate a rollback from our off-site immutable backups, the ones Chad had called outdated. But Chad, having been informed by Kevin that I was interfering with his optimization, sent a direct, curt message. "Elias, stand down. We are going live with the new schema in 2 days. Any rollback now will delay the rollout and incur significant penalties. I take full responsibility for this." The words, "I take full responsibility," echoed in my head like a death knell, a promise of his arrogance and my weapon. From that moment, I entered what I mentally called read-only mode. No more arguments, no more pushing back. I became a silent, meticulous archivist. Every single email from Chad, every instant message, every verbal instruction relayed through Kevin was logged. I started a private, encrypted digital journal detailing the exact time and content of each communication. Screenshots were taken. Meeting minutes were meticulously reviewed and annotated. I dug out a copy of the Netlink Employee Handbook, specifically Section 4.7, Data Security Protocols, and Section 5.2, Change Management Procedures. Both explicitly stated that all changes to core production databases required multi-departmental approval, a full impact assessment, and a tested rollback plan. Chad bypassed all of it. I also reviewed my contract. It stipulated that I was responsible for data integrity under the approved policies and procedures of Netlink Communications. It also stated that I was to report any policy violations to my direct superior and, if unresolved, to legal and compliance. My direct superior was Chad, but his actions were the policy violation. So I started copying all relevant documentation to a secure, external cloud drive. A drive accessible only by me and encrypted with military-grade algorithms. I even printed out key emails and stored them in a sealed, date-stamped envelope in a fireproof safe, notarized by a trusted colleague. I was building an ironclad case. I needed to ensure that when the inevitable catastrophe struck, my hands would be spotless and Chad's would be drenched in gasoline. My malicious compliance was subtle but absolute. When Chad's team, under his direct supervision, began pushing the new, optimized routing schema to the test environment, I offered no advice. When they reported minor discrepancies in the test data, I merely acknowledged their findings and reminded them, purely for the record, to follow the defined testing protocols, knowing full well Chad had gutted those protocols. I knew the inconsistencies in the test environment were a direct result of his unapproved purge on Olympus Prime. He was effectively building a new house on a cracked foundation, with no one to tell him the foundation was crumbling. The tension in my department was palpable. My team watched me, confused by my sudden silence but trusting my previous record. The day came. A Tuesday morning, 3:17 a.m. Netlink communications went dark. Not just dark, but utterly silent. No mobile calls, no internet, no emergency services that relied on our network. Millions of customers from California to New York were cut off. The cascading failure began precisely when Chad's optimized schema was pushed from the test environment to the live production network. The latent checksum corruption from his database purge, combined with the new schema's assumptions about data integrity, created a perfect storm. Core routing tables dissolved into digital chaos. Our network became an island unto itself, unable to talk to anything or anyone. The very technical error that Chad had proudly initiated hours before had manifested as a nationwide outage. My phone rang incessantly. My team was already in the office, frantically trying to diagnose the issue. Chad was bellowing orders, panicking, his arrogance replaced by pure, unadulterated fear. He pointed a trembling finger at Kevin. "What did you do? Why did this happen? Elias, you're responsible for data integrity. Fix this." I walked into the command center, calm as a glacier. "Chad," I said, my voice steady, cutting through the panic. "You specifically ordered the deletion of core historical routing configuration data from Olympus Prime. You bypassed my department. You bypassed our federal regulatory audit requirements. You bypassed our internal change management protocols." He sputtered, "Nonsense, I was optimizing. You failed to prevent this. This is on your watch." I pulled out my tablet. "On the contrary, on date of first verbal interaction, you dismissed my concerns about data retention. On date of email about audit, you ordered us to skip a mandatory audit. On date of second verbal interaction, you commanded the purge plan. On date of Chad's email to Kevin, you directly ordered Kevin to execute a deletion script on Olympus Prime, without my knowledge, without testing, and without a rollback plan." I projected the emails onto the main screen, time-stamped, uneditable. "And on date of Chad's stand-down email, you explicitly stated, 'I take full responsibility for this. All documented, all stored, all irrefutable.'" He stood frozen, his face draining of color. The room was silent, save for the hum of the emergency servers and the distant, muffled ring of phones. My legal team, who I had quietly looped in the previous evening with a hypothetical scenario, entered the room. A network engineer pointed to the screen. "Sir, the corrupted checksums from that purge are precisely what's breaking the new schema. We can't even roll back to a stable configuration. The historical data that would allow us to reconstruct it quickly is gone." The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Within hours, federal regulators were on the phone, then on site. The financial hit to Netlink was in the hundreds of millions. Customers were furious. The city council held emergency meetings. Chad was marched out of the building by security, his access badges revoked on the spot. He stared at me, his eyes full of a pathetic mixture of disbelief and hatred. You let this happen," he whispered. "No, Chad," I replied, a cold smile touching my lips. "You made it happen. I just documented it." Update 1. 3 weeks later. Chad Sterling is not just fired, he's facing multiple lawsuits. Netlink has retained a high-powered legal team, armed with my meticulous documentation, to recoup damages from him personally. His severance was revoked, his stock options frozen. Turns out, Netlink's employee handbook also has strict clauses about gross negligence and willful disregard for policy. Who knew? Update 2. 6 weeks later, the Federal Communications Commission levied a massive fine against Netlink. But crucially, it's being offset by evidence of Chad's deliberate malfeasance. The company is actively pursuing criminal charges against him for reckless endangerment of critical national infrastructure, given the impact on emergency services. His reputation is irrevocably destroyed. His fancy MBA means nothing now. Update 3. 3 months later, I got a promotion, a substantial bonus, and a new title, Chief Data Officer. My first executive order was to implement a Chadwick-Sterling safeguard into all future change management protocols. As for Chad, I heard through the grapevine he's attempting to launch a consulting business, ironically specializing in digital transformation and efficiency. I expect his client list to remain, much like his career, completely barren. The irony is almost as satisfying as the silence that replaced his incessant boasting.